Welcome on board C'est La Vie. We'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors for this video, West Marine, Shaka Kai, and Costa Sunglasses. Let's see what's out there. All right, how did we get here today? It's a pretty crazy story. I am here to tell you another fish story, and this one is pretty good. The last time I had a really exciting fish story, we were in the Bahamas, and it was when I got my wahoo on Polespear. We're in the Bahamas, and we decided that it was our dream to go across the Pacific Ocean. So we sailed from the Bahamas to Panama, Galapagos, and then over to French Polynesia. I think it was a total of over 7,000 nautical miles that we sailed. And ever since arriving here in French Polynesia, I have had one goal that I've been wanting to accomplish and been working towards, and that was to land a dogtooth tuna on Polespear.
The dogtooth tuna are just one of the strongest, hardest fighting fish in the ocean. Between you battling this incredibly strong tuna that's like a yellowfin tuna that fights like a grouper and try to rock you up in the rocks, and then you have the sharks chasing it as well, it can be quite hectic, so it's a really tough fish.
The reason why I want to land a dogtooth tuna on Polespear is because for me, dogtooth tuna are the pinnacle fish when it comes to spearfishing. They are the beasts of the ocean. They're so powerful, they're so strong. Most of the time you're diving really deep to get them, and they're only found in certain places of the world. So we were seeing them here in French Polynesia, and it was time for me to bust out my Polespear. I tried last year when the season was hot and there were fish everywhere, and I was never able to get a shot. I was never able to get close enough.
Stayed remote as possible. We're in a place right now, we haven't seen another boat in over a month. Far away from people as possible, and we found some incredibly special things. The wildlife has just been amazing. The fishery is ridiculous. It's crazy. We're seeing fish upwards 100 kilos. We're seeing fish over 200 pounds and cruising the reef, and they're just true monsters. It's pretty incredible. So I've been hunting dogtooth tunas for almost 10 years now in the South Pacific, from Tonga, Fiji, French Polynesia, Cook Islands, Niue, all over the place. And this is a rare place where there's actually a little bit of ciguatera here, so you gotta be very cautious about what fish you take. You know, we try to share the fish with the locals because they're the ones that tell us which fish are safe, which is really cool. The locals tell us which fish we're able to eat and which fish not to eat. If it's good to eat, everyone eats. We struggle a little bit with the French, but you know, we speak the language of fish. We give fish away, we trade for produce, boat rides, just things like that. It goes a long way. It's a lot of fun too, and they invite you to come eat, and it's just a really beautiful thing, the locals here.
And so this year we were at a remote island in French Polynesia, and I was actually doing some work, and Cole decided to go out with our friend Fabian to just check out the new atoll and see what fish were in the area. So they went out for a dive, and they came back a couple hours later, and Cole said, "Steph, get your gear ready. The tuna are here, and it's time for you to go for your doggy on Polespear." Getting a doggy on Polespear is very, very challenging. First, you have to get close enough to even take the shot. Then these fish are so thick and so fast, and so you're trying to penetrate through the fish. And then once you hit the fish, they normally run like crazy, ripping themselves in half just to get out of the shot. If the fish isn't stoned or isn't rolled and it starts vibrating and bleeding, within seconds you have what we call a sharknado, where the fish is surrounded by sharks, they're all taking bites, and you're lucky if you get your gear back. You're definitely not gonna land the fish. So landing the fish is actually even more challenging than taking the shot on the fish in the first place. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Cole was excited about it. I was excited about it. I said, let's go. So we were loading up our gear. Cole pretty much got the whole dinghy ready. Our fins, masks, float lines, we had everything. We had the flasher ready to go. Both Cole and I use the 9-foot Nomad roller Polespear. It is super powerful. We've both landed some really nice big fish on it. by far my favorite Polespear that exists on the market, and I've tried all of them. So we had been in the water maybe 10 minutes at this point. Fabian did a couple warm-up dives, Cole did a couple warm-up dives. Cole and Fabian both had reel guns as backup to help keep sharks off, and Cole had his GoPro. I'm doing a breathe up. We have the flasher hanging down to about 10 meters, and we're just drifting over the deep reef. And there was a little doggy in the distance, just over the edge in the blue, and he wanted nothing to do with us. So I never even dove on him. We just kind of watched him and enjoyed the moment. And then a couple minutes later, a massive doggy swam in. Literally in my peripheral, I see it coming in from the side, and I didn't know how big it was, and I didn't hesitate. I just took a quick peak inhalation, a big breath, and I did my dive down, and I tried to dive as quietly as I could. I was barely kicking, I was barely moving, and as I was diving down, I kept my head tucked, just occasionally peeking up to see where the tuna was and loading up my Polespear with all my might as much as I could. Luckily, this fish was very curious. He came in hot, he came right in on the flasher, and he did not care about me at all. Not even a little bit. He literally swam right into the flasher, right past me, and I evened out my body. I tracked the fish with my Polespear, lined up the best I could, and you can see that I actually bend my elbow and chuck the spear at this tuna. So when I hit the fish, I just completely froze because I was expecting this fish to shake its head, vomit up whatever is in its stomach, and then run like hell. So I was getting ready to grab the float line and fight for my life to keep this guy off the reef and keep him away from the sharks. And then I realized that the tuna just rolled.
Oh my God, babe, you did it.
I rolled the fish with my Polespear. I was in such shock, so I pulled it in with my float line. I put my hands around the tail, and tunas have this shake to them when they've been spined, and so he was shaking, and even just his tuna shake was so powerful that I could barely keep my hands on him. So I wrapped my hands around his tail, I wrapped my legs around him, and Fabian swam the dinghy over, and Cole jumped into the dinghy. I swam the fish over to the dinghy, handed him up to Cole, and helped hoist this fish into the dinghy. And the moment that it was in the dinghy, we all just freaked out. I just started screaming. That's how it's done! What? Yeah. I couldn't believe that I just rolled a dogtooth tuna on a Polespear. Like, it's been such a big goal of mine. What? Thank you, fish. Fish, look at what I just did.
Holy cow.
It's such a hard fish to hunt, to get. It's all about the right place, the right time, the right gear, and we were able to make it happen. And the cool part of it was, to add to it, Cole had the GoPro rolling the entire time, so we got the entire shot on GoPro, because I don't think that many people would believe us if we didn't have the actual footage. The world record doesn't exist right now for women, for dogtooth tuna on Polespear for women. So this will be the first ever recorded dogtooth tuna on Polespear. Took the dinghy back to the catamaran, grabbed the scale, grabbed the measuring tape, and headed into the village. We hung the fish and we weighed it, and it weighed 73.6 pounds. I mean, just an absolute beast of a tuna, and I'm so thankful that it went down the way that it did.
Huge goal of Steph, so to be able to check this off and we don't have to chase doggy on Polespear, that's great news because it's hard. You do a lot of things with the dogtooth tuna. You could do steaks. If you cook it, overcook it, it tastes like chicken. Generally, if you wait 2 to 3 days, we eat it as sashimi. And then we actually did a cool new thing with Fabian. We dry aged this fish. So we actually brined it, salted it, and then we hung it off the back of our boat for a couple of days on a crossing. And this dry aged fish, oh my goodness, is a game changer. We haven't had anything like it. We just try to eat the fish as many ways as possible, and having a Michelin star chef on board while we smash big fish, it's a thing of beauty.
A big shout out to Headhunter Polespear, Brad and Mike with Headhunter. They test their gear, they try their gear all over the world, and they have some of the top line gear. In my opinion, it's the best Polespear setup that exists on the market. I've landed so many big fish, and I'm so thankful because I truly put the gear to the test and it has held up every single time. Also a big shout out to Joints, Franchi with Joint Spearfishing. He makes some awesome wetsuits that keep us nice and camouflaged here in French Polynesia and very warm.
And make some incredible spear guns that we use, as well as fins, floats, float lines, everything. Catch you next time, next fish story. I wonder what it'll be. Well, probably shouldn't stay too long here.